Hi, a congenial afternoon, morning, charing. Good day, sir. Today I will be filming myself discussing our lecture from the chapter 1, chapter 2, and the chapter 3. So, disclaimer, what I'm about to stipulate is just based on my understanding, and it's not purely based on our discussion kasi I know how to understand kasi. So let's start. Wow. Okay. So chapter 1, discourse analysis. We discuss here about what is discourse analysis. In discourse analysis, we tackled about the difference between, the relationship between the language and context. Well, language and context is closely similar, but they are depending on the situation. Let's say, my language, I want to convey um, my word towards someone. For example, I say to my husband na, uy, ang pogi mo. So the context there is, pogi siya kasi mabait siya, family-oriented siya, and green flag siya, something like that. Kasi yun yung gusto kong sabihin sa kanya. It is how we analyze the discourse based sa language and connecting sa sa context natin. So that's the relationship between the language and the context. Now let's move on to the discourse, analysis, and pragmatics. Well, in pragmatics, it is what we mean and not what we say. So, what it is trying to emphasize is that kapag sinabi ko na pogi ka, there is a meaning in there. Either gusto ko sabihin sa husband ko na pogi siya kasi insecure siya sa body niya, sa personality niya, or sa kung ano siya. But in my pragmatics, I want to comfort him kasi sinabi kong pogi siya, and doon pumapasok yung pragmatics kasi there is an intended meaning sa sinabi ko. Okay? So now we have the structure of language. Yes, so in structure of language, it is how we organize the our words into sentence before we stipulate it to someone. So in here, um, based on my given example, sinabi ko sa husband ko na pogi siya, ganyan. Kasi inorganize ko yung word ko based doon sa context or sa aspects na meron siya. Bakit? Aside from gusto ko siyang pasayahin, aside from gusto kong ipagaan yung loob niya, kasi gusto kong i-organize yung words ko para yung pragmatics sa sentence na ginawa ko is understandable and good yung outcome. Did you get it? Okay. So, now we will talk about the cultural ways of speaking and writings. We all know that we have different culture, language use, and belief. Let's say, for example, um, ako na wife, charot, I am the wife I am a Tagalog speaker, and my husband is a Visayan speaker. Sinabi niya sa akin in written form, gusto kong kumain, ah, gusto ko mukaon og langgam. Then, and in my take, langgam means ant. But langgam in his means, it is the ibon. So, yung belief namin is hindi siya nagja-jive, pero we have different culture kasi. So, dyan papasok si speaking. Whereas, pag sinabi niya na gusto na ako mukaon og langgam kasi gusto niya kumain ng ibon. In my take, it's a langgam na ant. So, nagkakaroon kami doon ng different ways of speaking and writing based sa kung ano yung understanding namin sa isang context, sa isang word, or ano man yung aspect or belief. Now, we will move on to the ano pa to? Communicative competence. In communicative competence, it is the ability to speak, or the ability to use the language. Let's say in the context na asawa ko is a Visayan speaker and I am a Tagalog speaker. Papasok dyan si communicative competence kapag ako na Tagalog speaker, I have to deep understanding sa language na ginagamit ng asawa ko. Let's say, how can I take the langgam as ibon sa understanding ko sa langgam as ant. Magpapasok doon yung formal or informal sa amin as informal kapag tinake ko siya based sa belief, culture, and meaning sa language use nila. Diyan papasok si communicative competence kasi I have the ability to use their language use. Now, let's say, paano natin gamitin yung formal? Kasi in that essence, communicative competence is where you can apply to yourself how to put how to use the formal and informal way of communication. Pag sabihin natin formal, depende to if yung kausap mo is mas mataas yung profession sa'yo, or di kaya teacher mo, trabahante mo, boss mo, or etc. Magkakaroon tayo ng formal and informal based din sa sino yung kausap natin. Formal, kapag respetado yung tao. Informal, if peers, kaibigan, asawa, or etc. Now, let's talk about the discursive. Saan yung cellphone ko dahil? Okay. So, now let's talk about the discursive competence where someone who create a word and can understand it. Let's say, as someone na Gen Z, I use the word geng-geng sa someone kasi I created that word na alam kong maiintindihan ko. We can also have the example of code names. Bibigay ako ng isang word specifying to someone na magagets ko pag nakikita ko yung isang tao. Gets? That's how discursive competence work. Oops. Okay. So now, let's talk about the chapter 2, discourse and society. In discourse and society, we tackled here the discourse communities and speech communities. Discourse communities, it is where our goals of language is being used or applied. Let's say, as someone na nag-i-study ng English language, kasi English major ako. Pumapasok siya si discourse community when we use a particular language specified sa atin, which is the English. Magkakaroon tayo dyan ng discourse when we talk about more on the linguistics, technical writings, or any related to English language studies. Now, if we talk about the speech communities, it is the language shared to any kind of community. So meaning it is an umbrella form of sharing the same language to another communities. Let's say Bachelor of Secondary Education. In our general language there is yung Prof Ed natin. Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Filipino, major in mathematics, major in English. Yung shared language natin as English major is about the professional education, which is the pedagogy, lesson planning, and another discussions within the Prof Ed na meron din sa major in Filipino, major in mathematics, so on and so forth. And that's how the speech community works. Now let's talk about the speech community in spoken and written. So, kagaya nga ng binigay ko na example, gumagamit tayo ng same language with the different majors kasi yung shared language natin. Okay, now let's move on to the discourse and gender, discourse and sexuality, discourse and identity. These three concepts or topics are different when it comes to discourse analysis. Discourse and gender, we have different kind of discourse based sa gender mo. Let's say, as a male, they have different discourse wherein yung language nila is specified based sa kung anong gender nila. It same goes by the female. If meron silang brother code, meron din sa sister code. That's why we have the masculine language and feminine language, like female, male, girl and boy, kasi they have their own type of discourse kapag sila yung kasama nila. I mean, kung girls to girls yung kausap or yung nag-uusap, and boys to boys yung nag-uusap. Now, let's talk about the sexuality. Sexuality, it is the person's desire on how to use the discourse analysis. Let's say, as someone na male or hetero, I want to utilize the gay lingo or the gay language. So I have to embody the different kinds of understanding or different understanding on one word na gay lingo. Let's say beautification. The beautification in English is the literal beautification, but in beautification in gay lingo has different meaning. Like, if yun yung language na ginagamit sa gay lingo and I apply it to me, that is my desire na gusto kong gamitin yung gay lingo as my discourse analysis. Gets? So now, let's talk about the discourse and identity. Discourse and identity. Identity is a two-way construction where you can negotiate with someone na gusto mo i-identify kanila as this, because identity can be simplified by different persona. I can identify myself as a businessman, businesswoman, a woman, or a man. So let's say, for example, I want to identify myself as a good teacher. So within our class, I have to act like a good teacher because that's how I want my students to perceive me as a good teacher. Gets? Okay. So that's how the discourse and identity works. Let's talk about the discourse and ideology. Ideology is has a hidden meaning, but culturally speaking, it is accepted. Let's say I have the idea of same-sex marriage, but there is the idea from the other culture that do not accept it. Okay? Pero within that area or culture, may mga tao doon na they support same-sex marriage kasi they have the um they have the foregrounding. Kasi in this course there is this kind of discussions, foregrounding and backgrounding. Foregrounding, when you emphasize something, when you emphasize the idea. Backgrounding, when you de-emphasize. Okay? Pag de-emphasize, meaning, culturally speaking, accepted siya. Foregrounding, when the culture do not actually accept it kasi may hidden meaning pa yung kind of idea. Okay? Now you get it. I believe so. So now let's move on to the chapter 3, the discourse and pragmatics. As we all know that the pragmatics is the study of meaning in a sentence. That's why we have the language, context, and discourse. In pragmatics, we use the language to negotiate as a speaker sa listener natin what we are trying to say or what is the intended meaning of our sentences. So, you have to negotiate with someone na ito yung pragmatically meaning ng sinasabi ko sa listener ko. So, let's say magbigay ako ng code name na andyan na si ELT12. Ibig sabihin nun, andyan na si Sir EJ. So, yes. So, yung pragmatic doon, pag sinabi kong ELT12, yung pragmatic doon, andyan na yung si Sir EJ, yung teacher natin sa discourse analysis. Ganyan, stylistics and discourse analysis, something like that. So, now, we will talk about, next, the speech act and discourse. In speech act and discourse, there are 3 types. The locutionary, the literal, illocutionary, the intent, and perlocutionary is the effect. So yung speech act kasi, it is how you put action to your speech, like requesting, apologizing, so on and so forth. So let's say for example, tinanong ko yung classmate ko, masarap ba yan? So sa listener ko, papasok doon si locutionary as a literal form of question. Iti-take mo siya as literal na masarap ba yung kinakain niya. Now, papasok si illocutionary yung intent. Ang intention ko, kung masarap ba yan, kasi ang intention ko is gusto kong kumain. Pero sa listener ko, ang intention ko is maybe masarap nga to, you want to try. Then, if we talk about the perlocutionary or the effect, pag sinabi kong masarap ba yan, papasok yun sa isip ng listener, yung thoughts niya, kakain ka ba or what? Ang magiging effect nun is, for sure, kakain ako kasi parinig na yun siya. Like, sabihin ko, masarap ba yan? Papasok yung effect doon na, itong si Jessil, she wants to eat my food, something like that. Kasi that's how the perlocutionary or effect works. Now, let's talk about the cooperative principle and discourse. Si Greece, she imposed the four maxim. The maxim of quality, maxim of quantity, relation, and manner. In maxim of quality, meaning be truthful. Pag sinabi kong maganda ka, what I'm trying to say is maganda ka. Kasi totoo yung sinasabi kong maganda ka. Pero kapag sinabi kong um, pag 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 yung aspect naman natin or principle natin yung maxim of quantity, sinabi kong maganda ka kasi mabait ka, generous ka, um, green flag ka, or yung mga positive feedback sa'yo. Kaya sinabi kong maganda siya. That's how the quantity works. While in relation, the maximum of relation, pag nag-uusap tayo and you keep on showing the aspect of being a beautiful, then sinabi kong, oo nga, maganda ka. Ibig sabihin, nagja-jive yung concept na tinutukoy niya sa sarili niya sa idea na meron ako. Maximum relation, kasi related yung sinabi kong maganda ka, kasi based yun sa personality na meron ka. While in maximum of manner, ito naman yung clear. Yung halata talaga na mabait ka. Let's say, gumawa ka ng kabutihan, and so on and so forth, kahit di pa tayo nag-uusap, pag sinabi ko, ay, mabait ka, based na yun sa kung ano yun, nakikita ko sa'yo clearly. Gets? Now, we'll talk about flaunting and discourse. Flaunting, it is how you break maxim para sabihin mo yung meaning na gusto mo. Pag sinabi kong, ay, hindi, magbait lang naman yun siya, like, there is a sarcasm there, kasi yung intended meaning mo dun is nandoon. Nagiging sarcastic ka, kasi ang big sabihin nun is, binibreak mo na yung maxim na meron tayo. Nabibreak mo siya para sabihin yung intended meaning mo, kaya nagiging sarcastic ka. Okay? Now, I'll talk about the cross-cultural discourse. Ang cross-cultural is when may other culture ka na fina-follow, then pumunta ka sa ibang culture na nakukulture siya ka kasi hindi mo fina-follow yung culture niya. Let's say, sa Filipino context, pag sinabi mo, I don't care, it seems like masama. But in American culture, I don't care means okay lang. Let's say, pag humingi ako ng papel, and then as an American, sinabi ko sa'yo as a Filipino, I don't care, ang take ko dun, okay lang. Then as a Filipino, ang take niya dun ay baka hindi. Kasi yung cross-cultural na-happen within the speaker and the listener kapag hindi nagja-jive or hindi nagja-jive yung culture niya sa culture mo as an American. Okay? Now, I hope that explains everything. What I am stipulating is just based on my understanding, and it's not solely based on the book, kasi these are the most important thing that I learned from our discussion. So that's all. Thank you.